as promised, here is number 8, and you can't say I don't make good on my promises, guys. All right, so we are trying to find the equation of a circle. Again, we're looking for the x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. And as always, when we are writing that equation, we absolutely have to have a center and we absolutely have to have a radius. And unfortunately, in this problem, we have neither. What we have are the endpoints of a diameter. We've got 117 and 913. And again, you don't have to do this, but it does help to kind of draw a little picture. It can be completely abstract. You don't have to worry about where you're graphing things and are you in the correct spot as far as coordinate plane issues and things like that. You really are just looking at this so you see what you have. Okay, obviously you have a diameter. It goes through the center of a circle. That's what a diameter does. And we have the endpoints of 117 and 913. So we need to find the center and the radius. And all we have to remember is that the center of the circle is also the midpoint of the diameter, right? Midpoint of the diameter. So if I want to do that, to find my center, to find my midpoint, all I'm going to have to do is use my midpoint formula, where you just add your x's, divide by 2, add your y's, divide by 2. So my center of the circle, that's the easy part. Finding the center is going to be a 1 plus 9 divided by 2, and a 17 plus 13 divided by 2, right? Now, please, 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 please remember what I said in class today. And if you're watching this and you're in somebody else's class, please pay attention to what you're doing in the calculator. If you want your calculator to solve this for you, if you want it to simplify for you, that's fine. But please remember to put your numerators in parentheses. If you don't, your calculator, like for example, if you take the first one and you do 1 plus 9 divided by 2 without parentheses, your calculator will actually take 9 and divide it by 2, give you 4.5, and then it'll add 1. You don't want to do that. Okay, you want to add your 1 and 9 first, and then divide by 2. You want to add your 17 and your 13 first, and then divide by 2. So our center is 10 over 2 is a 5, and we got a 30 over 2 is a 15. So now we at least have that 5, 15, and we want to put that on our picture so that we can take a look at that and see what we need. Okay. Now, you have the option. Remember, your radius goes from the center to the edge. You have the option of using the new midpoint that you just found and one of the other points on the edge. However, my students, you know better than to do that. And you better know why. And when I ask you about this tomorrow and you tell me the answer, I will be super, super proud of you and super excited that you know that answer. But the reason we don't want to do that is, what if I screwed up when I was finding my center? What if I messed up finding those two numbers? Well, then when I go and use those numbers in other calculations, they're going to be wrong. So remember, we kind of want to use what we are already given. I'll make it a darker green so it shows up a little better. We kind of want to use what we're already given. So I want to use the actual endpoints of the diameter. Now, it does add to the problem, because what we end up having to do, we're going to have to cut that diameter in half, but at least we know we're starting with correct information. So to find the diameter, okay, obviously distance formula. Anytime you have 2 points in the coordinate plane and you want to know the distance between them, use your distance formula. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, because you can watch the other video or you can look at your notes to get that formula. So I'm going to do 1 minus 9 squared plus 17 minus 13 squared. Okay. And of course, simplify. Okay, and I just did x minus x, 1 minus 9, 17 minus 13. I'm just in my head looking to make sure I did that properly. So I have a negative 8 squared plus a 4 squared. Okay, so my diameter is, well, it's going to be the square root of a 64 plus a 16. So it is going to be the square root of 80. Now, here's the thing. Depending on who you have as a teacher and how they want it to be done, you can break down your square root of 80, right? We can do 16 times 5. We'll get a 4 radical 5. Cut that in half. The other way to do it is actually just let your radius, okay, equal the square root of 80 over 2. because ultimately we are going to write our formula. And if we remember, radius is half of our diameter, and we're going to go write our equation for our circle. So ultimately we're going to end up squaring that anyway. So we can plug this in just as is. So we got the square root of 80 over 2, and we have a center of 515. Okay? So all we have to do now, plug it into our formula, our equation. So x minus the center is at 5, comma 15, so there's x minus 5 quantity squared plus y minus a 15 quantity squared equals, here's where it gets tricky, but it's all right, we can handle it. Oops, this is terrible. How could you not tell me that I used the wrong color for that? Honestly, you should be shouting at the screen right now. All right, so x minus 5 quantity squared, y minus 15 quantity squared. We're adding in between the two. And so then we take our radius. There we go. That's the right color. We're going to take our radius and we are going to square that. Okay. Left side doesn't need to be made any prettier than it already is. It's not subtracting a negative. You don't have to change anything to a positive. So that's going to stay exactly as is. And then the right side, you can plug it into your calculator. You have to be very, very, very careful. You're going to need 2 sets of parentheses, one around the entire fraction, one inside. I believe if you enter your fraction, your calculator will give you 2 parentheses in there. Okay. But also the other way you can look at it is, remember, this squared, when we square a fraction, we are squaring both the top and the bottom. Right? We're squaring both the top and the bottom. So this is really the square root of 80 quantity squared all over 2 squared. So this is really, extended my page, x minus 5 squared plus y minus 15 squared, and that's going to equal, now remember, because this is just one term, I've got I've got an exponent of 2 and I've got a radical square root, so those cancel. So this is really going to be 80 over 4. And one more step. And of course, I'm taking the long way around because that's how I roll. You know that. So we got x minus 5 quantity squared plus y minus 15 quantity squared equals an 80 divided by 4, if my math is correct. And quite frankly, I'm hoping it is. But you never know. I make mistakes. But we got a 20. Okay? So that one's a kind of a big one. Again, I'll show you the full screen. Whoops, maybe. There it is. There it is. So if you need to, you can just pause on this real quick. And so you can see the full screen, so you have every bit of work in front of you, okay? Hope this helps.